Hello, welcome to Round Glass. My name is Alex Maizuss. So today we are on our session 3 of the Perpetual Storyteller. This is a 5-week series, a 5-part series, so I'm so happy that you're here with us. I'm curious to know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to see if you can just write it on the chat where you're tuning in from. That'll be awesome as we build community and we connect here in this way together. So today's session is going to be about bringing gratitude for the story. And this could be a bit of a challenging subject because in particularly we're focusing on the limiting stories, the stories that really don't seem to help. And so as we work through these stories, something that comes to mind is a practice of positivity. And with this practice of positivity, what we're really talking about is not really positive thinking. So positive thinking can be really helpful sometimes, but what we're talking more about is practicing positivity with mindfulness. And so through mindfulness, we get to see what the story is about. We become aware that there is a story that is not helping us, right? And this could be, and I even might give you just a moment to really take in a deep breath and just notice what stories might be playing even in your mind right now as you listen. So just take just maybe a couple of seconds to just notice what are some stories that are playing for you right now. And just becoming aware of them in your own mind. And as you do this, you can notice how these limiting stories can really kind of prevent us from reaching our goals. And so with mindfulness, we become aware of the stories, just like we're doing right now. And then we can kind of spin them around in some way. So the idea is not to push them away. It's not to ignore the story, but the idea is to become aware of what's helpful and what's not helpful. So through gratitude with mindfulness, we practice positivity. So see how that's different. When we tap into positive thinking, we're most likely replacing things. We're saying, for instance, I don't think I can do that. And then we're saying to ourselves, oh, I can do it. I can do it. And then we keep repeating this. But if we're not noticing the story and the power that it might have, then it could really leave us lost in a way, because now we're saying all these positive things, but we're not feeling it. So the spin around it is, can we practice gratitude for the story as we become aware of it? So I tend to believe, it's my personal belief, that behind every story, there is an incredible source of power for adaptation and survival. For instance, in my own personal life, I have experienced this firsthand by I had the belief growing up that I just wasn't good in math. At the same time, I was mesmerized by the stars. So as a child growing up in the rainforest of Peru, I used to spend countless amount of hours looking at the sky. And I knew that when I grew up, I would want to do something that related to really being more familiar with the stars, knowing what the stars were about. But for that, I had to study science. So my belief of not being good at math really held me back for a long time. And I didn't think I could actually study any kind of science because it's all based in math. So you can see how this belief kind of was holding me back, because my thought was, I'd love to, study some kind of science, and I knew I would probably go into some sort of engineering, but it involves math. And so for me, it took a while to really notice what the story was doing. And really, honestly, I did notice the story. Luckily enough, I started meditating early in my life, and this allowed me to have a lot of self-awareness about what I was saying to myself. So noticing the story that I wasn't good at math was one of the things, but I still kind of worked through it. I was able to really just tune into some ways for me to be thankful by noticing what the story was doing for me. So what was happening is, because I grew up in the rainforest in a small little town, my math skills weren't that great when I moved to the city to private school. And so you can see how I will make up that story of me not being good in math, but it had nothing to do with me not being good in math. It's just that I didn't have the guidance to start out. So it failed when I went to a different school that I couldn't do math. So long story short, I did actually, I was able to work through that story, and I found it extremely empowering. I realized that the story of being not being good in math protected me all through high school from the shame and fear of lifting my hand, going in front of everybody, doing a problem on the board. And so I stayed quiet, always thinking that I wasn't good enough at math. So that kind of kept me safe. Once I was able to see that, I knew that I can actually have gratitude for my story, that my story wasn't there to hold me back. It was there to inspire me. It was there to protect me. So knowing that, I was able to go into college, study software engineering, work for the aerospace companies, and I made it all the way to the stars in that way. So I'm telling you this because I'm hoping that this story can inspire you a little bit about recognizing all these limiting stories and befriending them in some way, noticing how they just come up to protect us a lot of the times. So there is a bias of the mind, of course, to go towards the negative. We know that, we recognize that. And, this shows up as preventing mind, comparing mind, right? Everybody was better than me at math, not being not good enough at something, or just thinking that I cannot do it, right? So these are just ways in which the mind is constructing this kind of limiting stories. So with our practice of gratitude, we are actually enhancing our possibility for being more positive, for thinking that we can do things. Being grateful for the story is the first thing that we can start practicing. So gratitude really is appreciating things. It's having a sense of appreciation and a sense of thankfulness, as we would say, right? Appreciating what we got. And this can, of course, kind of expand into our health, right? Into a happier life, into, research shows that people that practice gratitude are happier, experience less anxiety, less depression, they have better physical health. So why wouldn't we, right? So I just wanted to invite you today in our practice to tune into a sense of gratitude. And I understand that this could be challenging sometimes, depending on where we are in life and depending on what we're going through. So it's something that we need to practice sometimes to cultivate. And so I'd like to invite you for the remaining time to really choose a comfortable pose where you might be sitting or lying down. Now I'm sitting cross-legged in the floor. You can see a previous video in which I actually said kneeling, and this is just to give you a variety of poses. These are my two most common used, but that doesn't mean that you have to sit like me. You can lie down, you can do this however it is that you're comfortable. The idea is more that your back is straight so that you can have the flow of air coming in and out of the body without difficulty. You notice that if we slouch, then the airflow is not coming in and out as it should. So just noticing that as you sit or as you lie down, just making sure that you have a good flow right here. And then one more thing, just allowing yourself to really be open to this sense of gratitude, right? Just being open to it. And there's no really, and nothing that you have to do. If this doesn't feel right at the beginning, if you notice that, I don't know about this gratitude thing, just give it a chance. And maybe as we started, just tuning into maybe one thing that you're grateful for. And this could be anything. And I'll walk you through this meditation. I'll work you this practice. If you can just do it during the week, this would allow you to cultivate this sense of gratitude. So that whatever it is that is your performing story, your limiting performing story, or the limiting stories that you're telling in life, we can open up to the possibility of other things working out for us. So, right, that being said, please join me for just a few moments of meditation and practice, practicing our gratitude, which rewires the way we navigate life. It allows us to connect really back to this boundless love and to kind of go through life with a more sense of noticing more, I would say. Sorry about that. Noticing more what is working for us, and instead of the mind often focusing on what is not. So this drives boundless love and boundless acceptance. And so, okay, let's sit together. And again, let's just notice how you're breathing right now. Just bringing your attention to your breath, bringing your attention to your pose, and just allowing for a moment. And perhaps we can start in with a deep breath and long exhale. Let's do that one more time. Taking in a deep breath and exhaling long, and just allowing for yourself to tune into this moment, becoming aware of where the body is in relation to the rest of the room. And knowing that this is your time, a time that you have set apart for you, for your practice, to cultivate this sense of gratitude. So just allowing yourself to settle in here. Perhaps you can notice how the cushion or the chair or the surface holding you, it's kind of in contact with the body, and it kind of presses against the body, and the body kind of presses back. And so just becoming aware of this sensation, those areas in contact with the surface holding you, where there might be warmth, where there might be the softness of the surface. And as you do this, also allowing your attention to expand from these areas of contact to the rest of the body. Noticing your feet, noticing your legs, and then becoming aware of your entire body. Really safely just sinking into the surface holding you. And as the mind settles into the body and your attention settles right here in this moment, also becoming aware that this body is breathing. So noticing the in breath and the out breath. And as you notice yourself breathing right here, just noticing how the breath might be long, maybe short. Maybe the breath is deep or maybe shallow. And there's nothing to do. There's nothing to change. What we're doing is just becoming aware of how the body is breathing in this moment. And even if you're breathing super faint right now, you're still breathing. So just noticing the body breathe all on its own. Now, perhaps just bringing a sense of appreciation for this breath, appreciation from this body breathing without any help. As you do this, perhaps just bring in a being into mind, and doesn't have to be a person, it could be any being, a pet, a tree, any being that you deeply appreciate. And as you bring this being into mind, just noticing the sense of appreciation and allowing it to grow in you. And it doesn't have to be anyone that has done anything too over the top for you or anything like that. It could just be any being that you appreciate, maybe from the week, couple of weeks, maybe the moment. And as you do this, just noticing the sense of appreciation, allowing for a little bit of this cultivation of gratitude. And I'm bringing into mind maybe a past event or an event lately that you're greatly appreciative for. Doesn't have to be anything hugely big or anything like that. It could just be maybe a nice meal, any event that you appreciate at this moment. Being able to rest after a long day of work. Now allowing the sense of appreciation to just rest here, allowing your attention to notice what it feels like when you appreciate something. You might even notice what it feels in the body when you're sensing appreciation. And now just becoming aware of any natural resources that you appreciate, any resources that you have access to. It could be water, air conditioning or a fan, heating if it's cold where you're at, clothing. Just allowing yourself to rest here in the sense of appreciation, tuning into what that feels like. And now becoming aware of perhaps a virtue or strength or something that others appreciate about you. Maybe you're punctual. Maybe you're honest. Maybe that's the things that they say about you. So what are some things that others appreciate about you? And now seeing if you can become appreciative of those things about you. Can you make room to appreciate those things about yourself? And just noticing what it feels like to appreciate yourself in this way. And now becoming aware of a story, a limiting story in particular, something that is not helpful, that has been with you for a while. And just allowing the story to come to your awareness. And now just asking yourself, what is this story actually helping me with? What is it doing for me? And give it some time. This takes practice. So the more you practice, the more some things will come up for you. And if it all that comes up for you right now is like, the story is good for nothing, that's okay too. Just acknowledging that with a smile, that that's just what the mind does. And then give it another try again next time. So whenever you're ready, allowing the sense of gratitude and appreciation to just flow all over yourself, noticing where you feel it in the body. Taking in a deep breath. Exhaling long. Bathing in the sense of appreciation for these few things that might have come up for you. And if nothing came up, then that's okay too. Appreciation for that as well. Knowing that there is always room for gratitude, no matter what. Your eyes are closed. Whenever you're ready, just opening your eyes. Joining me back. I'll give you a little bit of time to kind of stretch a little bit, move the body in a way that feels right for you. And while we do that, I'm curious to know what might have come up for you during this practice. Is there even one thing that you might be appreciative of, that you feel gratitude towards? Or maybe not. Or if there are any questions, I'd love to hear them too. And meanwhile, while we stretch our bodies a little bit, something that came up in our last session was this sense of anxiety with a story. And that can happen sometimes too. Right? Stories kind of bring up a sense of anxiety. It brings up different emotions sometimes. And so just the fact that we're noticing what's coming up, it's already a plus for us in this practice. And after all, that's what mindfulness is about. It's really about noticing what is coming up and how can we work through this sense of stress or anxiety. And as I was telling you, for me, that was kind of what was coming up with my story on not being good enough at math. But just doing this exercise of noticing the story, being grateful for it. In some ways, I know that my perception is shifted about things and about the things that I might think that I cannot do and the things that I can actually do. So we're creating space, we're creating room. So I invite you to just give this a try. And one practice that I love to leave you with is making room for this gratitude. So next time that you find yourself saying thank you to someone or for something in your life, really savor that thank you. That's how this practice can be cultivated. Really savoring it, really looking at that person, somebody opened the door for you, looking at that person in the supermarket and really saying thank you. So I know that you're joining in from all the different places. I'm seeing New York City and Santa Fe and New Mexico and Los Angeles. I'm in Los Angeles too, so hello as well. And Seattle in the United Arab. Wow. I really appreciate you being here today and really allowing us to have this sense of community together. So I'll invite you to follow me in my profile so you can see when I'm coming live again. And then we can continue on this practice about the stories that we tell ourselves. So thank you so much. Stay well, stay healthy, stay present.